Well, hi everyone, and welcome to Soul Bites, our snackable tips, trends, and thought leadership for those in the business of talent. Today, we have an incredible guest dialing in from New York City to share with us lessons learned from launching a healthcare startup during a pandemic. Welcome to our podcast, co-CEO of Healthee, Guy Benjamin. It's great to have you on.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you.
So, Guy, like me, you came from another country, so you have a fresh perspective on the United States. Could you perhaps unpack for us how did Healthee come to be? Why do you exist?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the first thing that we need to think about is the statistics, right? Numbers. When you think about the US, 70% of employees say they don't know what they're covered for from their health coverage. 60% of them delay or avoid treatment because they're not sure if they're covered for it. But on the other hand, employers spend north of $10,000 on every employee every year on their health. So there's a huge imbalance between how much money is invested in employees' healthcare and how much they actually get out of it. And as somebody who's come from a different country, a country where I never had to think twice before going to the doctor. Like a coverage is not even an issue where I come from in Israel. And then moving here almost 10 years ago and starting to deal with the US healthcare system, starting to get bills that I didn't even know nothing about, starting to get questions like in-network versus out-of-network, copay, deductibles, max out-of-pocket, all these different terms that are just confusing. But it means that employees are just, again, they don't know. They are not taking care of themselves because they just don't know what they're covered for. So I think inherently that's what really got the need for Healthee. When you talk about more less strategically and more really what happened is that one of my co-founders, Elad, and Elad is a doctor. We met in the US. He came to visit me, and we were talking about how hard it is. Like he wasn't able to find a coverage for a night nurse for one of his family members. And I was saying, night nurse, I don't even know if I'm covered for a dental cleaning in the US. It's that complicated. And then we started talking about it, and it seems like there's an opportunity. And I think both our backgrounds kind of meshed in together really well. Him with his medical background, mine with my more McKinsey and technical and analytics and AI background. And we said, okay, there has to be a way to leverage technology to help employees understand what they're covered for. I always say that banking has made such an incredible journey, right? Like I remember as a child going with my dad to the bank to know how much money we have in our bank account. Nobody does that today, right? It's all in our fingertips. It's all in our phones. But we still call a call center to figure out if we're covered for a dental cleaning or if we can go see a specialist. It's just mind-boggling that it's still like that. And that's exactly where Healthee comes in to kind of bridge that gap between our access to healthcare and our actual healthcare.
Now, your background in McKinsey, so you're obviously leaning very heavily into your technical side. This must be a perfect storm for you right now with this huge need. And we're just seeing health costs just continue to escalate. You've got this mass confusion and you've got your ability to understand how to accelerate things, I guess, using data. Tell us a little bit about how you're using that to bring it to your system to create a new offering, to Americans here.
Yeah. So the data is the key word, right? Like what we do is we connect different data sources. So we take your health plan, for example. A health plan has about 600 pages of data. And are they organized? No, they're actually the opposite. They're disorganized data, right? They're unstructured data. They're a PDF that has, again, 600 pages. And in page 33, it says where you're covered for which specialist. Page 77, we'll talk about medication. Page 172, we'll talk about medical equipment. So it's really disorganized data. So that's one data source that we know how to take, we know how to distill and basically transfer to a structured data source. Then on top of that, we take data from all your health and wellness benefits that your employer provides, like fertility or gym membership or dietitian, anything that has to do with health and wellness that employers provide, but employees have no clue about, right? So we take that as well and we put that in the database. Then we take data from doctors and we kind of know, okay, how much they charge, which one is in network, out of network. We put that in the database. Then we take data from, for example, the CDC of guidelines of how often you should get your yearly physical or a mammogram, and we add that to the data. So once you put all of that together, the first thing you do is you make the data accessible in one place, one-stop shop, where the employee can come in and see, what am I covered for? Where can I get it done? How much will it cost? Soon book an appointment in one place without talking to anybody. Back to that banking experience of just going on your app, right? Now, that's one part of the data. The other part of the data is what the employee is asking about, because we always try to learn about the employee themselves and see what is, based on the data they're providing us, what is the best data we should provide them back. So I'll give you an example. If an employee will ask about back pains, we will make sure that once there's a new benefit that is relevant for back pains, to let that employee know, because we know that that specific employee is suffering from back pains. Or if an employee asks about pregnancy, we'll make sure to let her know throughout her pregnancy about the different benefits that are relevant for her, but also post-pregnancy, right? When she has the baby, what are the benefits that she should be aware of for a newborn or for an infant, or later on. So it's really getting, first of all, analyzing data and making it in one place where it's all accessible, but then also getting data from the end user and giving them back data that is most relevant for them. And that's something that no one else has done yet, right? Like, we're the first and only platform today that knows how to collect all that data and puts it in one place. I like to say that we are kind of creating a health operating system for the end user, for the employee.
Oh, look, I absolutely love that. And we're sitting in the back end. So that's what you're trying to push out. Could you now perhaps share with us, what are some of your current clients experiencing?
Yeah, so there's a few things that we're seeing, right, from our current users, which is amazing to see, because we haven't been around for that long, but the impact that we see at our customers or our employers and their employees is almost immediate. Because once we launch, first of all, an employee gets what we call Zoe. Zoe is kind of like their personal health assistant, and she knows all their health and wellness benefits. So first of all, they get this resource, and suddenly all the questions that they were either embarrassed to ask, they didn't know where to go, right? Question about mental health, for example. An employee doesn't really want to go to someone else or their HR and say, hey, I'm having anxiety. What are we offering for anxiety? So first of all, they get in their hands this tool that is completely confidential, that is always available, 24/7. Zoe never takes PTO. She's always available. So that's the first thing. And we're seeing this number of questions that are just like straight out the gate, because we understand that employees just didn't have a place to go or they didn't feel comfortable go there. Then the other thing that we're seeing is that we're saving time. We're saving time to the employee. We're saving time to HR. We're seeing an average for our customers about 9 hours of saved time for HR every week, which is crazy to think about how much time that saves to HR professionals. The other thing that we're seeing is savings. So think about now, an employee can go and find an MRI instead of a $2,000 MRI, a $400 MRI. So think about how much he saves for himself with copay and for his employer, right? If it's an employer that is fully, that is self-covered. So that's another thing that we're seeing. A fourth thing that we're seeing is that employees now have better healthcare literacy, because they're asking questions about what is deductibles, what is out of pocket, what is in network versus out of network, things that they really didn't know before. They didn't really have a way to go and ask, and unless they would go ask HR, right? Or call a call center. So really seeing improvement in healthcare literacy. And then lastly, in employee experience. We're getting employees sending thank you notes. Some employees think Zoe is real, right? And we get back an email saying, thank you. Right? We have so many examples that we actually share internally of how Zoe created impact. And it's not only Zoe, it's the people behind Zoe as well. And how much impact we create for people, either by saving them money on medications, providing them options that they didn't know about. There's so many examples that we can talk for hours just on that. But what I love to see is that in this early stage, you already see impact, and you see impact right away, which is amazing to see.
It is, and it just shows me that you've absolutely got your finger on the pulse there. So a few things. First of all, I love Zoe. I love the ease that you're bringing, and that is one of the great gifts of technology. If you can get through the complexity, and I'm not what you are doing is incredible. Those amount of inputs, and we know that's where we do need our AI, our machine learning, because there's just too much data for the human brain to be able to process. So I can see that you're really at a moment of advantage right now because of the time. We want to, and we need to get back in the driver's seat of our health. So tell me, what are you focusing on? You're obviously still, working on the product, working on your sales. What is your focus over the next, say, 1 to 2 years?
Yeah, so I would say we're super focused on execution now, right? So we raise money from amazing investors, right? Like Group 11 is our lead investor, and they're like an amazing partner for us. So, and they helped us, not needing to think about funding for the foreseeable, basically, let's say for the next year, which means that we can really focus on execution. And for me, execution is on 2 dimensions. One is the product development, and the other one is on getting as many users on the platform. I'll talk for a minute about product development. We have an amazing R&D team. They're all in Israel, that is supported by a very amazing product team that is split between the US and Israel. And what we're doing is just adding more and more features to Zoe. And we're basically teaching her to be better and better. I'll give you an example. One of the things that we heard from our customers is that they don't only need help throughout the year. One of their biggest pain points is open enrollment. They come in and they have, an employee will have sometime either between 3 to 30 options to pick a plan and no real help. So now what we're working on, it will be ready very soon, is an open enrollment tool. So Zoe will actually be able to help you choose the best plan for you and your family, which is an amazing experience for an employee that now has nobody to help them. 50% of employees actually choose the wrong plan. So think about you coming into Zoe. She either already knows you because you used her for a while and she kind of knows your questions. So she can tell you, hey, based on your questions, this is actually the best plan for you. Or she can ask you a few questions and also help you kind of understand based on benchmarking, based on other people, other users, what is the best plan for you as well. And kind of help you also just explain the difference between the plan 1 and plan 30. So that's one thing on the product. We're actually also adding prescription drug medications to Zoe and many, many other features. So that's on the product side. On the user side, we're constantly and we're overwhelmed by demand of just getting access to Zoe. So employers come to us and they want their employees to have it. And what we're focusing on is making sure that we get in front of as many employers as we can. We're also working with brokers. There's many forward-looking brokers that we're already in touch with and are working with that want to bring Zoe to their customers, which is amazing to see how, an industry that is really in need of innovation kind of embraces innovation so fast, right? Like we're seeing one of our partners is Holmes Murphy. Holmes Murphy is a conglomerate of brokers, and they've been helping us getting access to their broker groups who have all been super innovative thinking and really moving faster than we actually anticipated on bringing Zoe to their customers because they see the value in it and they understand the need here. So it's really amazing to see how much enthusiasm there is around Zoe.
Well, it just shows how big the problem is that you're solving and the readiness and the tools finally that we can do so. So what is the big vision? Is this just a US play, or do you see it going global, or is this specific to a need here?
It's a good question because we are seeing demand from places outside the US, like Israel and Brazil, which is a huge market, Guatemala, Japan. We're kind of focusing on the US at the moment because we're saying, if we can fix it in the US, we can fix it anywhere. But it's definitely on our roadmap, right? Like I think Zoe shouldn't be limited to just US employees, right? Like everybody should have a tool like Zoe to either help them navigate their coverage, remind them that they should be getting their yearly physical or a mammogram, or just any other preventive care benefits that they have. So I don't see Zoe as just a US play. Like she should be available to everybody who cares about their health, right? What is more important than our health? And Zoe's there to help you with that.
That's the number one asset. Is there any way that you line up with Apple's big vision, which is, I guess, to put on our hospital and a gym and to really put healthcare back in our hands? Are there any parallels there with what Apple's doing?
Yeah, I think there is. I mean, what we're seeing is that Zoe, because she's fully digital, it's easy for us to connect and do APIs and with other digital tools. So definitely wearables is on our roadmap. Hospital visit, doctor visit is definitely something we want to be able to connect back to my vision of, Zoe becomes your health operating system. That means that everything that has to do with your health and wellness goes through Zoe, right? Like Zoe's like your first it's your one-stop shop for everything that has to do with health and wellness. So yes, it's definitely part of our roadmap.
Well, that's great. I mean, I'm just smiling from ear to ear. This is just such a big issue, and you're addressing it. Let's chat culture now. So you went from 0 to 40 people in 1 year. I just can't even imagine.
Yeah.
What were a couple of learnings you had hiring your team at such pace?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think first thing I learned is that, you need a mission, or having a mission, right? For us, our mission is to help employees be healthier. Really helps with recruiting, right? Because people, they see themselves as part of, that mission. And by the way, every one of our employees is also a potential user or is a user, right? So they all kind of can relate to the problem. So that really helped us with recruiting. Another thing that I learned is that you need a specific certain profile that is for a startup that is going from 0 to 40 employees in a year, right? Because you need people who are execution focused. You need people who are comfortable with the unknown. You need people that are comfortable with shifts and changes. And we have those. Like every one of our employees is very focused on execution. What we talk about a lot is on failing fast. Like we want people to go try and fail as fast as they can, because we learn from that and then we get better. The best example that I always give, our marketing director, Sylvie, on her second day on the job, she basically videoed herself for a LinkedIn ad and started creating leads just from that. And that's amazing mindset, right? Like your second day and you're already in execution mode, or even in trial and error mode. Like we can have, or in this phase now, we need to build the plane as we fly it. And every one of our team members, that's exactly what they're doing. They're literally flying a plane as they build it. And it's just amazing to see how people feel comfortable with the unknown, right? There's a fog around us of, we don't know in 3 months of, what product is going to be required by our customers, but we know that there will be some requirements that we'll have to work on. And we don't know what kind of messaging is going to work well versus won't, right? So we constantly changing and constantly adjusting. And, startup is always, a week feels like a month or even a year, right? There's so many things happening. Like we started this company, we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary. I told the team that it's been the year that felt simultaneously like 5 years and 5 weeks, because you're such in high pace, but also so many things are happening. And you just have to be comfortable with it. So the people that you hire, they need to be ready that this is not a corporate job where we know where we're going to be in 6 months or even 6 weeks. You have to constantly adjust and be comfortable with it.
That's some great examples there. For Sylvie to feel that she could do that means that she felt she was in a safe environment. So let's talk about the culture that you're creating. I know that you have to select a certain person who's happy with change and, hey, guys, we're all going left. Hey, ladies, we're all going right. What do we do? How do we build on that? What are some of the things you're putting in place to build that culture?
Yeah, I think so. One of the things that we've done that really worked well is just hire somebody that's focused on culture very early. So Debbie, our VP people, there was always kind of a discussion, like when is a good time to bring somebody who's just focused on culture? Should she be the 40th employee, the 20th employee, right? And I think we made a conscious decision of bringing a VP people early on, and we're seeing the fruit of it even now already, right? Like there is a culture that is being built. Like when you put 40 people together, yes, they have a joint mission, but there are 40 new people. We're all new hires, right? All of us are still new hires. And some of us are in Israel, some of us are here. So bringing that person to really focus on culture really helped us, because we're building a culture. It's still an ongoing process. And I think what's also cool is that our culture is being built from within. Like employees are the ones building that culture together with Debbie or VP people, right? It's not something that we're saying, hey, this is our culture, get used to it. It's, hey, let's build it together. We have a set of people here together, all different personalities. So let's think about let's take the best out of each one and their experiences from other companies. We keep talking, my co-founder, Ben, keeps talking about, think about the company you want to work with. and let's build that, right? Because we have the opportunity to do it. We're starting something from scratch. So it's really cool to see how that culture is being built. But one of the key learnings I had is that you got to invest in that. You got to focus on that and put resources on it. It will not be something that will just get built by itself.
Yeah, that's right. But the good thing is you are going to be going in the good direction because you've got somebody who wakes up every morning thinking about how to keep your staff, your employees happy. And then I guess another aspect to that is having to deal with the hybrid. I mean, you're already split across a couple of countries. Are some remotely? Is there an office culture? Like, how are you dealing with that?
So it's a good question, right? So definitely we have people in Israel where they work in the office most days. We have here in the US people in New York that we try to meet in the office 2 to 3 days a week. We have people in the vicinity of New York, right? So for example, our Kayla, who leads our analyst team, she lives about a couple of like an hour or two away, but she makes a goal out of, for herself to come into the office, once a month or twice a month, which is great to see because it's important for her to sit down with other people, but she's also able to be productive when she's working from home. So I think it's really depends on the style of the person. Some people are more comfortable just coming to the office every week, some people every day, some people are more comfortable just working from home. But I think that hybrid approach of, yes, I'm super productive at home, but once every 2 weeks, I'm going to get on a train and go to the office and sit down with the people that I work with every day to build those connections. That works great. And I'll tell you even more. We also have people that come from Israel to the US to sit down with their counterparts here and the other way around, right? We did an amazing product week that was led by our VP product, Michal, in Israel, where we brought all our product people from the US and Israel to one place for a week. And first of all, that week was amazing because it was so productive having people together. But coming out of that week, the whole work environment changed because now people know who they're working with. It's not only through Zoom, they have shared experiences when they spend time together. So it's really cool to see how that hybrid approach really works well for us.
What would you say is your team's superpower?
It's a good question. I would say my team's superpower is my team. Each one of them is such a strong hire and such a strong person, and they have impact every day. Like I always say that I'm always worried because that's my job, but they help me be less worried, right? Like I know that I don't need to be in every conversation. I don't need to be in every conference or in every customer discussion or product discussion because we have so amazing team members. Like if we had time, I can talk about each one of them and what makes each one of them so great. But at the end of the day, I think that's their superpower. Like they're them being themselves, them bringing that excitement to work every day, and them kind of knowing that there is a higher cause that we're working with, right? And working for making employees healthier, and they live it every day.
Yeah, look, that's great. And then my last question for you, and I think we've already felt this through this interview, and thank you for your time. What sets your soul on fire?
What sets my soul on fire is having impact every day and getting better every day. And for me, impact is, again, making employees healthier. Every time I see that Zoe helped an employee either find a specialist in network that is lower cost, or find an MRI that is lower cost, or find a medication that they didn't know about, or a service they didn't know about. For me, that's what drives me, right? Like the fact that we're able to help another human being be healthier by giving them access to their health and wellness benefits.
That's amazing, Guy. Look, thank you so much for your time and for your story. Incredible.
Thanks for having me. This was great.